Okay, so today we are actually going to study about creating graphs in Python. Okay, that is our purpose. So before we get down to the code, we actually talk about certain aspects of the graph creation and displaying it on the user screen so that we know which all elements we should be giving him as input when we are writing the code. Okay, so you are all aware of it. You've been making graphs in mathematics, in other subjects also throughout your life. But yes, I'll just quickly go through. And you can see here that the basic purpose of graphs are to give you a visual appeal. It's always better to explain through graphs because the values are easy to understand. The trend you can understand. Numbers, remembering is difficult. Seeing a lot of data like that doesn't make sense to us. So that is why it's always better to have a visual or a graphical representation of the information. Okay. So that is the purpose of this topic, which is my data visualization. And Pandas provides us with a lot of features, which makes us, which gives us an opportunity to create these graphs very easily. That's the best part actually. Other softwares also have these options, nothing like that, but just that this gives us a very smooth sail to it. Okay. Now, if you all have installed Pandas, excellent. If you haven't done it, please do that. The video is already shared in the group. Okay, that has a process. It's not a very difficult one, but takes little time. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes it will take to install itself. You just have to give one command and it will start doing. Because once you have installed Pandas, you also have to install the graphic thing element, basically, that particular library, which is matplotlib. Okay, so Pandas is one and matplotlib is the other. These two have to be installed in order to make this entire thing work. Fine. Okay, so before we move on to that part, let's discuss about in general what all terms I'll be using in referring to my chart elements. Okay. Now, this is a real life data because this is a school data only. English board results in these 3 years and how many people have got A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. That total is there. And that I've converted in a graph. Now, here you can see that the graph shows you the various elements of what all we display in the graph. Okay. Like we have the x-axis. You can see here. This is the x-axis, right? This is the y-axis, basic element. Okay. Then we have these bars. Now, this is one category of graph which you are seeing, the bar graph. Okay. There are various graphs which we are going to study. There are existing. We cannot study all of them. We just do two. We do line and bar. But Python itself gives you a lot of options of scatter chart, this thing, pie chart, box plot. A lot of options are there. But yes, and you will learn later in your life maybe that there are certain charts which are very useful for certain category of data. So I will prefer a scatter chart over a bar chart in a particular situation. Okay. Though they all are graphical representation, but different categories are preferred in a particular situation. Fine. Okay. So we have these bars. You can see them. Then we have the label or the values which represents the particular bar. Then we have the chart title. Then we have these legends. Legends means that this blue color graph or blue color bar is 1718, orange is 1819, and gray is 1920. So the legend explains the bar element, that which particular bar is representing what. Okay. This whole area, this you can say this particular area where the graph is shown to you, that area is called as the plot area. Okay. And we have these titles, x-axis title and y-axis title, which tells you that what are you exactly trying to represent in the x and y axis. Okay, so these are the basic few elements which we need to know in terms of names, because I would be actually displaying my chart title, my legend, my X title, my Y title. So I should know what exactly am I talking about. Fine. So these are the chart elements, and we know them by these names only. Chart title, legend, then you have X title, Y title, like that. Okay. These are the elements of the chart. Any chart you talk about, they remain the same. There is no difference in that. So these are the categories of charts which you see Python lets me work on. Okay. Column chart, bar chart. This is a horizontal bar chart. The one I showed you in the previous slide was a vertical bar chart. Okay. So horizontal bar chart. Then this is the pie chart. This is the donut chart, line chart, area, scatter, spider. Many of them are there. And what we learn is the bar chart and the line chart. Okay. These two charts we are going to do. Now, definitely, let me tell you one thing in the beginning itself. There are various things which we can do in the bar chart also, multiple bars per legend or per category. Then you have different options of decorating that particular thing too, in terms of colors, in terms of other things. So I will do that, whatever is required in terms of your basic work for the class 10 practical file and project. Okay. You may explore it further, no problem. If you find it interesting, you explore it further. Post your exams, you can do that. But we are going to stick to our basic requirement. Okay. I cannot take you too much in detail because I don't have time. There's always a time constraint. Okay. Exploring further, you want material, I can share with you. You want explanation, I can explain you. But other than our class time, that is the name. Okay. So let's move on and see that how do we work in Python in terms of these charts. Let me show you one more thing. A bar chart is a very common one, which for which I've shown you the example. Line chart is somewhat like this. We might not be very used to the line chart, but line chart is also very, very significant in terms of representing values. Like in here, I'm talking about degrees, temperatures basically in a particular city and day wise. So on the first of a particular month, it's 43 degrees. Then second, it is 53. Then third, it is 50, like that. So it's a line chart representing the data. Simple. I can have multiple data represented, like, and I can have temperatures represented as one line. Then I can have their rainfall percentage represented in another line. So I can do all that in the line chart. These are called as markers in a line. We learn how to make these markers also. Okay. These black lines which you can see are called as grid lines. You may display the grid lines in the chart, you may not. By default, it is not displayed. If I want the grid lines to understand the value labels properly, then I can invoke that option or that method by which he is going to display me these markers. Okay. Coming down to the next one, these are my bar charts. We all understand the bar charts very well, so I'm not really going into it in detail. Again, we have grid lines, we have labels of X and Y axis, and I'm trying to represent the information. So reading chart and understanding is something I believe you know. What we have to do is, how do I do that in Python? Histogram is another category. I've just explained the basic, I've given you a basic idea here. We really don't learn how to do histograms in Python now, maybe sometime later. Basically, these are my frequency charts. Okay. These are my frequency charts. Let me show that to you once more. Yeah. So like, you must have learned preparing histograms. We do that in statistics. We do that in maths also sometimes. I'm not sure whether you've done it or not till now. It's like a range of values and how many in that range. So that is called as my frequency. Fine. So it is not exact direct values being represented in this chart. Histogram is mainly meant to represent frequencies. How many in a particular range of values. So 65 to 70, 2 people or 2% or something like that. I'm trying to specify 2 people, count of 2. 71 to 76, 5 people. Number of students have scored in this range. Okay, so I'm doing that frequency thing, and that then I'm able to represent So when I represent frequency values in the chart, I call it a histogram. Okay. I really don't go into much detail into this. Now, let's get down to our major requirement. How do I start making graphs in pandas? That's my main thing. So first of all is I have to install matplotlib. It is not M-A-T-H. It is M-A-T. M-A-T-P-L-O-T-L-I-B. This is the library which I need to install. Like I installed pandas, I need to install my matplotlib also. Okay. And in this particular library, you've got multiple modules to work with. And different needs are there, and we accordingly call the module. What we are going to work with is the pyplot module, P-Y-P-L-O-T. Okay, this is the module with which we work with from the matplotlib. So there's a way to invoke that, and we learn how to invoke that particular module from the matplotlib library of Python. Okay. In one go, we just learn, there are many more which we can do, customization, but the basic ones, like if you make a basic chart, at least it should have a title, it should have a x-axis label, it should have a y-axis label. I want to save the file, the plot basically, so I go for save fig. That's the method to save the file at a particular location, the graph which it generated. Then this is the way I'm going to show my grid lines. You don't understand what is PLT, but we do that. So grid, dot grid and brackets 2. So grid is the function which lets me display the grid lines or not display it, depending upon whether you're giving him this Boolean value in the brackets, whether it is true or false. If it's true, it will show. If it's false, it doesn't. By default, it is false. So I do not show the grid lines. Okay, so basic and legend. Legend is also something which is important when you have multiple values being showed on the graph. That time you have to tell him ki is bar ka kya matlab hai, is bar ka kya matlab hai. So that is required, and that I do with the legend function. So 5 of these are something which are at least being used in the plotting. Okay. But in Python, what we have to remember, after doing all the setting, like I gave him the x-axis value, the y-axis value, I displayed the title, I displayed the labels, I said, okay, do the legend, do the grid lines, whatever, and I left it. So when you run the program, there's no output until and unless you write this 6th particular point which you see here, plt.show. PLT is just like my PD, the alias name which I use for pandas. No, import pandas as PD. So I'll actually import my matplotlib module as PLT. It can be anything, ABC, XYZ, whatever, some name. So that name which you are using as the alias name, and then dot show. So until unless you write that dot show, nothing is shown to you. Okay. So this is the basic requirement of mine in order to work on the graphs. Am I clear with this point? Anything anybody wants to ask here? Otherwise, I move forward. Yeah.
Ma'am, I don't understand the difference between the second point and third point. Like, what is?
Okay, this is the main title. Okay, fine. Good question. If you're talking about title and X and Y labels, let me show that to you in this particular graph itself.
So that is like the name of the whole graph and
yes. So if I say plt.title, this is what I'm going to talk about. If I say plt.x label, I'm talking about this. plt.y label, I'm talking about this. So 3 different things.
And that it is written label for the axis. So instead it should be label for the chart or something. Then.
No, this is labeled for the axis only. Chart title, it is calling as title.
I'm talking about plt.title is certain label for the axis.
Acha, in the PPT you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see to it that I corrected. If it's confusing, I'll definitely correct that. Okay. Otherwise, is the concept clear? Anybody else? Okay. So let me move on to the next one, which is my next part. That is this one. Now we'll actually learn how to code and see that how things work out for me in the Python environment. Okay. This one. I'm directly moving on to the code. I'm not giving much of other things. Okay. First and the foremost thing, my import. Okay. Import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. Fine. So what is happening? This is the thing which I am importing and giving it an alias name as PLT. If I don't give this alias name, what happens? Everywhere, wherever I'm writing PLT, I would have had to write matplotlib.pyplot.plot, matplotlib.pyplot.title, matplotlib.pyplot.xlabel. Okay. Obviously, it is difficult to write. That is why I'm giving it a shorter name. That is the only purpose. Nothing else. Fine. Now, obviously, when you talk about a graph, here I need my x values and y values. Okay, you always do it in terms of x and y axis. So you can see here, I've given him the x-axis data and the y-axis data in the form of two lists. Okay, the simplest what we can understand. So x is 4, correspondingly, the y will be picked up as 6. So 4 and 6, if you see here, this is the point. X is 4 and y is 6. Sorry, my line went little bit, but this is it. X and y is my, it's going to be taken up like this. Okay. Second one will be 5 and 10. So 5 and 10. If I can make it look better, then this is the second point I'm giving. So this way I give him the points and he ultimately makes the line himself. Okay. So x-axis, so x-axis data I've given as a list. Now, where do I tell him that this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis? That is this particular function, plt.plot. So this is my main function which tells him that this is my x value and this is my y value. This could have been two different variable names also, a and b or something else. Doesn't matter to him, but it can be, it can be any name. But the sequence is first is the x-axis data and second is the y-axis data. You can directly
Like
give the
we can,
list.
if we name the list as A and B, so we can name it plt.plot A/A, B.
Yeah, correct. A comma B. Or I could have given the whole list here itself. plt.plot, half circle open, square bracket open, 4, 5, 6, 7, square bracket closed, comma, square brackets open, 6, 10, 14, 13. Square bracket closed, half circle closed. So that directly the data also can be given. Generally, we assume that the data is existing and existing data, I pick it up and use it for my plotting or for any other purpose also. Like in data frames also, we have learned that from the list or from the dictionary, I'm creating the data frames, right? So similarly, from some stored data, I pick up those two and use it for my plot. So this is my main thing for plotting. Next is title. As simple. Where do I get this output? I get it here. Then comes my X label axis. I get it here. Then comes my Y label axis. I get it here. Okay. Box पर आना, axis के values को assign करना, making the line and all, everything he will do himself. I'm not giving him कि मुझे 4, 5, 6, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 is range में then I'm not giving him anything. He's doing it depending upon the data range what you have given. He has divided the thing himself. Okay. plt.show till you write. If I've written everything but I forget writing plt.show, nothing will show. That is something which is very, very important to be remembered. Okay. Simplest graph. It's like the question here says, draw a line graph where the x-axis shows the individual classes and the y-axis shows the number of students participating in an inter-house event. So class 4, 6 students, class 5, 10 students, class 6, 14 students, class 7, 13 students. That is how I have tried showing it. Okay. Now moving next. Now we learn, this is a basic thing. If you only do this much for me in your project, in your practical file, enough. But we learn a few extra things which I think you can manage. Okay, like I want to display multiple data. See this particular question. Draw two line graphs where the x-axis shows the individual classes and the y-axis shows me the number of students participating in art or computer inter-house events. So there are two events. I want one line to show me the art competition, another line to show me the computer competition, but my x-axis remains same. So you have different y values, keeping x same. Okay, obviously this kind of thing is applicable when your x is same, otherwise not, right? So I have my x as 4, 5, 6, 7 only. So one is my y, which is telling me maybe students participating in the art competition, and z I will be using for students participating in the computer competition. Okay, how do I show that? So I'm going to use two plot statements. In one, I will say plot x and y. In the other one, I'll say plot x and z. So x के साथ एक बार y को plot करो, x के साथ एक बार z को plot करो. Okay, I can add this label here specifying what should be my data displayed in the legend. If you see the previous example, you will find that I've not given any label here. There is no legend and there's no legend required also, because there's one category of data only. So no legend required. But यहाँ पे दो line से आपको बताना पड़ेगा which line is showing what, है ना? That is why the legend becomes compulsory. So legend के लिए क्या data देना है, that you give him here as a label separate. इसका label ये, इसका label ये. Okay, and then in the legend you will just say plt.legend. So automatically both the labels are picked up and shown with the color of the line. You can see that here. Now you'll say, ma'am, ये color कहाँ से आया? These are the default colors. I can give my color also, which we do in the next question, in the next slide. Okay, I want yellow and pink. You can do that. Fine. Otherwise, this, I think first preference color is blue. Then he goes to orange. Then if you don't give color specification, then he has a sequence of colors which he uses himself. If you are okay with that default set of colors, very well and good. You want to give your own colors, I'll tell you that option too. Okay. So legend, I have given here extra. Rest, title is there, X label is there, Y label is there. I've also shown you with the grid. This is how with the grid it's going to come. And then the most important common thing, plt.show. Okay. So this is how I get this particular thing. Now moving further, we move on and we
There's
try to
one
do.
question here.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, if you're not written plt.legends, would still be the labels be shown?
No. Then you're not utilizing the label which you have given as input to the plotter. Okay. Because then the legend only is not shown. Na? If you go back to the previous slide, my machine is just not ready to work today. I don't know why. It's working so slow, as if something has happened to it. This one. Yeah. In this example, there's no legend being used. So there's no legend being shown. But still there's this small dabba coming. Can you see it? Right? Because there's
Yes,
nothing
ma'am.
being shown, this empty thing comes. But legend is not there because I've not given him anything to show. In this graph also you can do. You can put a label and say what? Number of students participating in inter-house event or something. Whatever legend you want to give, that will come in this box. Okay. But because I've not given anything, so nothing will come. plt.legend, of course, you have to write. That is important. Otherwise, it doesn't display the legend. Now, these are the color abbreviations. I can write blue, cyan, green, black, magenta. Of course, I can. And I can use these single letters also. Blue, cyan, green. Black is K because B is blue. Okay, so they have taken the last character, which is K. Magenta is M, red is R, white is W, yellow is Y. There are many more colors. I've given you just a few. You can check it out from the net. You will have all the colors available. Okay. Now let's do this. Everything is same as per my previous example. What I have added is only this G and M. So now I've given him that the first plot you do, please make the line with green color And the second plot you do on the same graph, make the line with M color. That is magenta. Rest the entire code is same. I have not made any change. Am I okay? So please remember the sequence. X values, Y values, the color comes in between. देखो color नहीं दिया था तो label आ गया था पहले, है ना? So you have to remember the sequence properly. X first, then the Y values, then the color, then the label. And the rest of the things remain same. Legend will be invoked if you write legend. Title will be invoked if you write title function. X label, Y label, everything will be done if you display him. Otherwise, he will not do anything of that sort. Okay. Now some extra variations. That is the minimalistic thing which you can do with your chart, basic things. Now with the plot, I can specify the line style, the line width, the color, the marker. Marker is important, I believe, because with the marker, it highlights the points. Jahan pe X and Y meet kar raha hai, it highlights those points. Then I can even specify the size of the marker. I want a small one or a big one. So the width can be specified. Okay, let us check out an example of this too. And these are my various markers which I can use. You can use this characters also to specify that. This dot will give you this symbol of the marker. O will give you this symbol of the marker. V will give you this symbol of the marker. Okay, I've given you the whole list. One or two you may try and use it in your project. Then for the X and Y label, you can also give the font size and the color, which is also useful. I want to give a different color to my labels, to my titles, and I want to increase the font size. All that we can do using these extra, you can say, arguments to these functions. Okay, legend we have seen. Again, in the legend also, I can do something that the legend is at any point in the graph, no? Top corner or left corner or upper, upper, lower, left and right. So that specification we can give him. When I did not give any specification, he was showing it to me right, right side, lower right, basically. Right? You want it differently, you can do that. So for legend, this is the input I can give, LOC, that is my location. And I can also give a new name to the legend, the two legends I had used. Students participating in the art competition, itna bada na likh ke, I can just write art. Students participating in the computer competition, itna bada nahi likh ke, I can just write computer. So you're just giving a new name when you invoke the legend function. Label you added. Okay. So you may just change it if you want. You want to give a new label to it, you can do that if you want. So these things can be done if you want. Otherwise, you may work with the defaults also for your class 10th work. Now I have tried to use everything what we have seen. Step by step, let's go through because we don't have much time. So let's go through it. Now, X data, Y data here is same. Z is also the different set which I have to represent in the second line. So X and Y is my first plot. G is the green line. Line style I have changed to these. What do you call them? You can call them small bars or dashes. Dashes actually. So dashes. And the width also I have changed. Hence, it is much more thicker. Dekho, next wale plot mein, where the line is dotted, I have not given line width. So ye default hai. But I have given the line width for my previous one. It has become thicker. Okay. So it all depends the way you want to present your graph. Whatever looks trendy and good to you, you do that. There is no specifications as such. See, basic 4 things I will always need, even if I giving you a question in the practical exam. I want the title. I want the labels, that is X label and Y label, the color of the X label and Y label at the maximum. Okay. This is my basic legend and grids, and I might say grid dikhao. I might say, legend should be shown with this particular label. I can do that. I can ask you that. But rest of the things are like your wish. You want to decorate your output, you can do that. Okay. So line style dotted is this purple one. This is what I'm getting with the dotted line. So you may try a few of these options given in the line style. so as to see different outputs. Then I have my legend, art and computer. I've changed it. You can see here. Now it's not coming the whole label which I might give. I've not given here. But even if you give, you can give this name new. So here, even if I'm not giving a label, it is picking up the label I'm using here in the legend. Even if you give the label and you give a new name here, he will give preference to the label you've given in the legend function. Fine. Location I've changed upper left. So you're getting this in the upper left. Upper right, lower left, lower right. Okay. Then I have my chart title that you can see. Then I have my X label with font size 14 and color as red. My X label you can see has changed the color to red and it's a little bigger in size also. Similarly, for my Y label also, my font size and color has been changed. Grid lines I want, so I said true. And then I say plt.show. Okay. So this is like understanding for my basic line graph. Okay.
Instead of 2 dashes, if I place 3 dashes, then also I'll get the same output.
Line style, no, these are specific line styles. It has to be 2 dashes means it has to be 2 dashes only. Single dot to single dot. You know, these are typical ones. It's shown, na? Here I've given you this thing, na? These are markers, yeah. Like, set line style to any single for solid line, double, dashes for dashed, dash dot, colon for dotted line, like that. Or I can write dotted also. So specifications are there. It is not random. Ki, kuch bhi I say. It is very, very specific. Okay. So that's about your basic graphs. That is my line graph. Now bar is left. I need another class for the bar graph. Let's see when we can have it. But what I want to tell you is that with this much knowledge of data frames and graphs, I'll give you the practical file work. I'll share the sample file also, and I will give you the practical file work for your exams, for your submission for this exam, this July exam. I'll share all this data in the Google Classroom also. Make sure you go
So this
through
will
it.
be assessed in the exam.
This will be in the practical exam, not in the theory exam.
Okay.
Okay. Practicals, most probably, I'll try to keep it after the exams only, not before the exam, so that you get some time to practice also. I would be needing the lab arrangement and everything. So I don't think it will be possible before the exam. I'll talk to ma'am and keep it after the exam. Okay, give your theory exam properly. And then I would try to have a practical, which will include your creating data frames, working on the data frames, little bit, whatever we have done, and then breaking the graphs. But at least till now, if I'm not able to get any other class with you for the bar graphs, at least do the line graphs properly.
Ma'am, if else statement and that Python would come.
Which one?
If else statement and that Python one.
No, Python is not there in the theory paper in 10th.
It's only like, I mean, not in theory paper, in practical exam.
In the practical exam this time, we will give you pandas only.
Only pandas, no matplotlib.
Pandas and matplotlib. I mean the
Achha.
thing what
Okay,
you've learned in class 10th, not the 9th part.
ठीक है, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay,
we will
ma'am.
try to give you whatever we have learned in class 10, not in class 10. Okay, that could be later when I try to put a combined file work for you for your second term. That time we might include a bit of if questions and all for the practical file. But as of now, stick to these two only. But do it thoroughly. So install pandas first, install matplotlib, practice a bit of it. You will get stuck somewhere, you'll have problems. We'll try to do it in the lab if possible in school, or anytime you have free, come over and practice, show it to me. I can rectify or share me the screenshots of yours. We can do that. But you need to practice. I've just explained you the words and the terms. Until unless you do it, it's not done. You'll have to do it yourself first. Okay, I'm there to help out. There's no issues about it, but you'll have to do it once. Fine. So please install and start practicing. Thanks for your time. Goodbye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Take care.